All right, let's jump right into a pretty big topic, application modernization. And we're going to tackle it using a really cool and surprisingly perfect metaphor, renovating a house.
So let me ask you a question, a really important one. Is your business running on outdated tech? Because if the answer is yes, you might be taking on a lot more risk than you think. Your entire operation could feel like you're living in this beautiful old building that's, well, quietly becoming a hazard. You know the kind of house I'm talking about. It has so much character, a great foundation, and your business processes, they've worked just fine for years. But what's happening behind the walls? The wiring and the plumbing, that's your core code and your infrastructure, they're from a completely different era. And it's not just about being inefficient anymore. It's getting genuinely dangerous for the whole structure. This is the exact spot a lot of businesses find themselves in.
So let's put a name to this outdated tech house. Let's talk about the real problems that come with what we call legacy systems.
So what even is a legacy system? Well, it's that older software your business absolutely depends on. And here's the crazy part. These systems are often packed with hidden business value. You know, the core logic that actually makes your company unique. The problem is, all that value is trapped in code that's super hard to understand, costs a fortune to maintain, and adapting it to what customers want today, almost impossible.
And the cost of just doing nothing? It's steep. We're not just talking about dollars and cents here. We're talking about lost opportunity. Outdated tech means innovation is a constant uphill battle. It makes it incredibly tough to keep up with what your customers need. And that lack of agility, it's a direct roadblock to growth, and it leaves you really vulnerable in today's market.
Okay, so this brings us to a huge decision. Do you just let that old house fall apart, or is it time for a digital renovation? And this right here is where application modernization enters the picture.
So what is application modernization? It's basically the strategy of taking those old but essential legacy apps and giving them a major upgrade. And listen, this is not just a fresh coat of paint. We're talking about updating the deep down stuff, the infrastructure, the internal architecture, the features, all to get in sync with where your business needs to go next.
And this is the real light bulb moment. Modernization isn't just about fixing broken things. The actual goal is to unlock all that business value that's already there, just trapped inside those old systems, and put it to work for you in the here and now.
So how do you actually do this renovation? Well, it turns out there's more than one way. Let's walk through the playbook of strategies you can use, and yep, we're going to stick with our house metaphor for each one.
First up, we have replatforming. You'll often hear this called lift and shift. This is where you move an application to a new home, like the cloud, but you change the code itself as little as possible. Just think of it like picking up your entire house and moving it onto a brand new, much more solid foundation.
Next up is refactoring. This is kind of like a major interior remodel. On the outside, the application looks and feels exactly the same. But behind the scenes, you've completely rewired the internal code to make it cleaner, faster, more efficient. It's like replacing all that rusty plumbing and frayed wiring. It makes the whole house run better and cheaper, even if your neighbors can't tell the difference.
Then there's re-engineering. Now we're talking about a major overhaul. You're making big changes to the app's code and architecture to bring in new, modern technology. The whole point here is to unlock totally new levels of productivity and creativity. In our house metaphor, this is like gutting an entire wing down to the studs and rebuilding it as this amazing open-concept kitchen with all the latest smart home gadgets.
And finally, you've got recreating. This is the most intense of them all, the tear down and rebuild. You are literally building an application component again from scratch. You keep its original purpose, but you use modern tools to bring in all kinds of advanced features. It's like tearing down a crumbling old garage and rebuilding it as a sleek, modern two-story workspace. It's on the same piece of land, but it's a whole new world of value.
So let's do a quick recap of our renovation playbook. You can see the strategies run the gamut, right? From a simple lift and shift all the way to a complete rebuild. The best choice isn't always the biggest one. It totally depends on what you're trying to achieve. Are you looking for a quick win by moving to the cloud? Or do you need to fundamentally change how an application works to get those game-changing new features?
All right, so we've got our strategies. But what's the blueprint? How do you actually get this thing done? A really successful modernization project usually follows a pretty clear four-step process. Okay, it always starts with analysis. You can't renovate the whole house at once, right? So you find the one room or the one application that's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. Then you start small. Don't go for some massive, scary project. You tackle one piece at a time to build trust and show results fast.
Next comes the shift to microservices. This is a huge one. It's all about breaking down a giant single application into smaller, independent services that you can update one by one. This makes you way more flexible. And finally, you lock in all those improvements with automation. When you treat your infrastructure as code, you can build, test, and release changes automatically, which makes your entire system more resilient and way more secure.
So, after all that work, the planning, the renovation, what's the payoff? Let's talk about the ultimate business upgrade, the real-world benefits you get when you pull off a successful modernization.
And if you remember one thing, make it this. This is not just another IT project. Modernization is a core business strategy. The end game isn't just about having cooler tech, it's about having the ability to out-hustle your competition by responding almost instantly to what your customers really want.
And when you nail this, the payoff is just massive. Your teams get way more agile, they can pivot on a dime, performance and productivity naturally go up, and because you're shipping higher quality work much faster, you end up saving both time and money. It all rolls up into what every business is after: better results, and an IT environment that's actually built for the future, not one that's stuck in the past.
You know, the goal here is to completely transform your applications, to take them from being a legacy liability that holds you back and turn them into a leading asset that actively pushes your company forward.
So we end up right back where we started. Your technology is the foundation your entire business is built on. After everything we've talked about, the big question you have to ask yourself is this: is it time to renovate?